we doing? Good. I think we just start this off with questions, man. It's been a good off season. Brad and I are just like every year, man. We've assessed the roster, assessed the season, take a look at it, and we like where we're headed. A lot of this is about signing our own guys back, which is the reason we drafted them, or we signed them before as free agents. We've done that. We've added to that. Obviously, DJ Reed and Lopez and Stewart, from elsewhere to come in. They fit us, what we're about. And we're fired up, man, getting ready for the draft, as always. Find the guys we love that are right for us and move along. You're saying from a coaching standpoint? Yeah, I mean, continuity is always good because, every year you kind of learn what each other wants and how they work, how they function, and then you can move without saying a word. And so that's important. It helps with efficiency, but yet, man, that's part of it to get to that point. We'll be fine. We'll be fine, man. Everybody knows how I feel about these coaches that have been here and been part of this. I'm happy for them. They're moving on. And I wish them the best. But, man, like John Morton, man, stepping in an offensive coordinator, somebody I know, I trust, I've been around. I mentioned this before. He was here when we built this thing back up in 22. And then Kelvin Shepard's been here, man. So it's not like it'll be starting from scratch or somebody that I don't know or he knows me, and so I see this thing moving pretty quick. There'll be a couple of bumps in the road. We'll have to work out some kinks, but it'll be kind of fresh and new, actually, and I think we're all excited to that.
Actually talking about this last year, was there any challenges with motivating at the same level when you guys have been hearing your message?
No, well, I think that's why you got to get the right guys, man, and look, I said this from the get-go. My job is I'm to be the leader of this team until they're ready to take it over themselves. And they're ready to take this over. Every year has gotten more and more where our leaders, St. Brown, Sewell, Goff, Hutch, Alex, have begun to take this thing over. And that's so now you don't have to worry about my voice. You know what I mean? It's their voice. They're the ones who set the tone for the team. And so, no, I think we're in a good spot. We got guys that are hungry. They're the reason why we bring them in, because they're the right guys. They don't get complacent, and they're going to go back for some more. Yeah, look, for where we're at right now, we're excited. We really got everybody back that we wanted to get. We thought it was important that we were, trying to make the most of what you have in free agency. But to get Davenport back, certainly Hutch is coming back off of injury. What we did with Mac early in the fall, we added Lopez to Reeder, until we get those guys back. Wingo's on injury, but then we feel good about where we're at, man, and we're not done either. That's the point. We're not done, and we don't know when. We don't know. Maybe it will be the draft. I mean, we're looking at everything. It could be after the draft. It could be any time. But at this point, with where we're at, we like where we're at. Getting Levi back was big. So. I don't know if I've tweaked anything. I think if anything, it's just been, I feel like the thought process has been cemented every year. It's, this thing is cured over time. Like it has stood the test of time. The kind of guys that you need to go get, everybody, of course you need to get productive players, man. You can be tough as nails and do all these things or play a certain way, and if you can't run, or you're not very strong, or you don't have any size, or then no, you can't play in this league. Doesn't matter who you are. But man, if you've got some tools and you've got some talent, but you've got a little bit of this chip on your shoulder, and you're a guy who believes you can do it in this league, and it doesn't matter if you don't have the big name or the flash or the most money, then you belong here, and because you can play. But that's big for us. That's a part of who we are, guys like that. It's one of the reasons we brought in Stewart too, man. This guy flies under the radar. This guy's an unbelievable special teams player, and he can play defense too. So, and maybe offense.
Dan, a lot of people talked about with Ben leaving, the offense is going to change, but this is a Dan Campbell offense as much as a Ben Johnson offense, isn't it?
Well, this is a Detroit line offense, is what it is. And I mentioned it. I was talking to Dan yesterday. I mentioned this, and here the nuts and bolts of what we are. Man, of course, we got our coaches. Man, this offense is Jared Goff, St. Brown, Gibbs, Montgomery. It's Frank. It's Sewell. It's Decker. I can keep going. It's J-Mo. All right. The defense is Hutch. It's Aleem. It's freaking Alex. It's T.A. Right. It's Kirby. It's Branch. It's now Reed. I can keep going. It's Barnes. And so that's what we are. All right. We can say, well, this is our scheme. This is what we run. No. They're the ones who make it what it is. So. That's our playbook, is those guys.
What do you want to see from Jared Goff in terms of growth this year?
Growth? He continues to grow every year, and I'd say the next step for him, and he knows this, and every year, like last year he came to us, everything we wanted him to do in the offense he did, and then he began to bring stuff to us as to, hey man, I can see this look. Let me get to this play. I know I've got these options in the bag, but let me get to this as well, right? Those are the things where he's, okay, here we go, man. That's beginning to show, and I would anticipate that to take another step up.
Can you run us through a couple of your top free agents? Reed, Stewart,
And Lopez?
guys, what you saw in them that made them fit for you and how you envision using them?
Yeah, well, for what they're asked to do, they're all three competitive, productive players. And I think it's just, man, it's the way they play the game, right? They don't back down from anybody. Let's start with Reed, man. Reed, he's got coverability. He can play man-to-man, start there, but then he'll bite on the perimeter, right? He'll come up, he'll tackle, he'll squeeze the edges. And then when you see him in press, man, he challenges, right? He's not giving you free releases. Now, he'll mix it up. And then he'll challenge it to catch point. Man, he's feisty, he's competitive. One of the best things I saw, I told him this, man, they're playing, it was early in the year, it was crossover tape. He got beat on a play. He actually got beat, all right? And to watch him put his foot in the ground, kind of stumble out, one of the rare, times you get beat, but you get beat at corner, right? That's part of this league. He gets beat, he puts his foot in the ground, and I mean, he is on an all-out. He doesn't have time to think about it, recover. He's just on a beeline to try to angle this guy off. And I thought that was one of the most impressive things, man. This guy he didn't go in the tank. He's not worried about what it looks like. He's just trying to compete and win. And he lines up and goes back for more. And that says it all. He's got the attributes. He's got the skill level. But, man, he's feisty. He's competitive. He doesn't get down, man. And I would say Lopez is the same thing, right? Lopez he's a down and dirty. Doesn't mean he can't play third down, but he lives in base a lot, man. He's taking on the double teams. He's keeping people off the backers. He can get an edge on you. And he'll just do it time out, time in, time out again, over and over. And one of the things that impressed me about him was when we played him. I mean, him going against Frank all day. We ran the heck out of the ball, but man, that guy held his own now. And we got a pretty damn good center. So that was impressive, that among others, and then I already mentioned Stewart. Stewart can do it all, man. He's the guy that's been counted out, but just continues to make plays in this league. He's a dynamic special teams player, in my opinion, and he can play defense. I mean, he played defense against us. Say it again.
So you feel like your defense is taking a step forward by adding all the
Yeah, well, we'll find out on the grass. I mean, like right now, I have no idea until we get on the grass. So I'll be able to tell you that probably September. I don't know, maybe late September, but.
How quickly did you guys get back to work after, obviously, it was a tough loss? How quickly did you and Brad get right back to work? Just talk about that relationship. How has it grown to where, okay, we know we want to do this all season? How's that grown between y'all, like the off-season communications?
Well, for me, whatever that was, right when I got done with the closing press conference, I was already on. I'm on to the next thing. So And then I can tell you, Brad he was already well within, kind of the prep of these college 2025 draft. So he'd kind of been in it, So we say every year about that time, it's like tag you're it, So it was tag you're it, but then I'm into the phase of finding the next batch of coaches or promoting or whatever that is, and so you go right into it. You don't have time to really digest all those things of the last game. But what I do know is you got to be careful if you say, you come out of it and you say, man, what's wrong? What's wrong with us? We did it right. We had 15 wins in a season. We played bad at the wrong time, and so careful tweaking things. What you got is good enough. We just gotta, we gotta play better in that moment. And so, but it also means we can't stay the same. We all know that. That's not good for anybody.
So last week the NFL said they were going to kind of crack down on some of the taunting penalties, the more violent, more obscene gestures type of thing. How do you, as a coach,
and uniform?
Uniform. How do you, as a coach, get that message across to every player? Like we can't do this stuff because it hurts us.
Yeah, you tell them. I think there'll be certainly there'll be penalty form, and those are the ones you can easily coach off of. It's the ones in the pocket, so they're going to start finding, they'll find everybody, the player, but more importantly, if the player doesn't get that, then it goes to the head coach and the owner, everybody gets a piece of that fine. So, and so look, you just say, look, this is what they're trying to do away with, and you just show them, and you don't do it. That's probably the best way to say it, and then at some point, I guess if it's coming out of my pocket enough, then you just don't play the guy, I guess. I don't know.
Dan, I got a New York-based question. With AG, obviously he's walking into a situation where they've been losing for several years. What is it about his personality and his coaching style that you think can maybe flip it there with the Jets?
Yeah, well, look, I think look, in my opinion, you got to be able to do what you need to do to build it from the ground up. AG's been around some phenomenal coaches, and I'm not talking about me. That's not Bill Parcells, Sean Payton. This guy gets it. He's been around the best at building and sustaining. So you need a leader, man. You need a leader, and you need a guy who can hold people accountable. I'm talking about top down. Has a vision for where you want to go and allow him to do that. And he's got every bit of that. And so as long as he's got the support, AG will turn that thing around. There's no question, man. All right, he's an unbelievable leader. He's an even better person, and he's the type of guy that makes people want to rally around him and do things to help him have success. So he's going to bring the right type of people around him. He's already done it with the coaches, and he'll bring the right kind of players. And I just, look, if he can't, nobody can. That's my opinion.
Dan, with Graham, maybe didn't finish the season the way he liked. He was battling through some things. What's your confidence level that Graham can rebound in 25?
Yeah, well, look, Graham, we know where Graham is at. Every year, certainly, you play that position, and it's a year later, But Graham's somebody that we still value because he's got versatility, and look, he did. He started the whole season, other than, whatever that was, game that we let him recover from injury at guard, but he can also play center. I think, people forget that some man, he can do an excellent job at center, as a matter of fact, so I think there's things that he brings to us that are not always easy to find. So yeah, we have confidence in him. And there again, the fact that he can play all the positions, man, that lets you breathe easy.
Do you envision him going back to right guard this year?
I don't know. I don't know. That's a thought, man. We've talked about that. Do you go back to right, and is it Mahogany left? Is it somebody we drafted? You're going to do your best to let these guys compete and see where they're at. Do we try Manu at guard? That's a thought. So we're going to try to. We're going to try to let these guys compete a little bit and move them around and see what's right, see where we're at. But it's not going to be set in stone.
How much yard did Manu play last year?
I mean, it was only scout team, and it wasn't a lot of it. It would be, that would be a, you're going to kind of take a leap of faith and push those reps, and see if he can grow from them. Do you do that or do you keep him outside? Those are just some of the thoughts that we've had. So.
How do you see Ennis fitting into the secondary this year? Ennis Racetrack.
Say it again.
How do you see Ennis Racetrack fitting into the secondary this year?
Yeah, well, look, I've said this before. You, as an NFL player, most of the time, the biggest jump you make of growth is between year 1 and year 2, and so he's going into year 2. He had a couple of injuries that took him off the field, which is unfortunate because he was going to the game, man. He was helping us a little bit on teams, which is good. And so I would anticipate this guy takes another step up, man. And we're not down on him. We're not disappointed. We expect him to go in there and compete, man. And look, there is nothing set in stone. I mean, look, you draft guys where you do, and you sign guys according to what you believe they're going to be for you. But you also, the best man's going to play. So he's very much in that mix.
We saw Kaminsky retire yesterday too.
I'm sorry.
We saw Kaminsky retire yesterday too. Just your thoughts on that, him retiring young.
Yeah, man, Kamish, man, that was a heck of a find by Brad. Being able to get Kamish. He was part of this deal. Back in 22, late 21, 22. And 23, and he was that. I mean, he was kind of the model of what we were early in this thing, and the value that he brought to us, the type of teammate he was, the type of player that he was, that'll be missed, man. And it's unfortunately it's part of this game. You get these injuries, and some of them it's just hard to recover from. So I wish him the best of luck, certainly, and love him to death, man. He was the best, and but that's part of the tough side of this game is the injuries.
Dan, a lot of people in Detroit they're obsessed with Hendon Hooker. The backup quarterback is always a big situation. You guys saw Kyle Allen. What can you tell fans, the Hendon Hooker fans out there? Is he your number 2 going in, and the whole Bridgewater fans?
Well, yeah, I would say that Hooker, no different than Allen, are competing. And the best way to help guys really reach their full potential is competition. You can say things, you can try to, the best you can prop them up, but at some point, man, you just got to go compete, and it's him or you, and I anticipate Hooker's going to compete. That's what he does. So, and I would see him taking another step up.
You guys made a couple rule proposals. One of them being the automatic first down for holdings. The other one being the playoff seeding. Can you just explain the thought process behind those 2 specifically?
Well, the second and, all right, the illegal contact defensive holding automatic first down. I think really I felt like where those were most glaring for us is we had a number of the, second 16, second 12, second 10, second 10, second 10, second 9, third and 8. And those specifically, forget the first downs. Our rule with first down, it's irrelevant. It'd be 1st and 5 now instead of 5 yards. That's actually better offensively, by the way. But it's more when you're in those that I just mentioned, the second long, the third, and the contact happens 6 yards down the field and it's on a scramble, which 4 of those were, you're like, man, that seems unfair, right? Why not just 5-yard penalty and let's replay the down, And so that was really, for me, I know that's where that came up. And it's really that little bit of the area, these longer yardage situations where, and I'm not talking about the blatant, man, this is a clear hold. He's 10 yards downfield, but we had a number of these that really were like that. This contacts happen place 6 yards downfield and it's second 12, or it just, man, that doesn't seem right.
How are those discussions going? Do you get a sense of that might get passed or not?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel great about it, but we'll see. I'll try to pitch it today. Hey, hold on a minute. Is that what you just asked? Yeah, and that's been that's been an ongoing discussion. You know, that'll be interesting to see how that goes in here. I think it's got some legs, but I do know that a few things have been brought up to, hey, you know, when you win your division, you know, or you end up, well, you get the first place schedule. So you play these first place schedules, and then it doesn't seem fair. Somebody else is playing a last place schedule, and they end up with a record better than yours, and then they get a home game. You don't. And you won your division, which that makes sense too, you know. But I know it's got legs. There's been a lot of debate over it, and we'll see.
What do you say on the two sports debate?
Yeah, I'm like, for me, I'm like, hey man, they've like, Philly obviously is known for this because, you know, they're the ones who've really kind of perfected it and done it, do it over and over. And I'm like, man, good for them, man. If you got something, we got to stop it. So, like, to me, leave it in. And, you know, we play them this year. We got to find a way to stop it. And I like that. So.
I want to circle back to Aleem McNeil real quick, too. Just when is it realistic to expect him back? And just by missing, you know, most of the offseason, can he take a step forward? How does he take a step forward still to, you know, get you what you need?
Yeah. It's tough to say right now when Mac will be back. You know, ACLs are all a little bit different. You know, obviously it's not going to be training camp, you know, or probably even early part of the season, but we will get him back. And I think the big thing here is, man, get him back healthy where he feels good, he can move, you know, obviously protect himself but still be productive. And I think more than anything, you want him getting it back to where he felt like he was before the injury. That's important, at least for this year. Because that'll be plenty. That'll be plenty.
You guys,
Remember your first impressions of Terrell Williams? And
Yeah.
what compelled you to bring him on staff?
Yeah, so I worked with Terrell. Actually, all right, you give first impressions. All right, first impressions is way back at Texas A&M University. He was working for Mike Sherman. He was the defensive line coach, and I went down just to I just finished playing in the NFL and wanted to be in the whole coaching realm. And that was the first time I met him. And I remember watching him around his guys and this defensive line and in the staff meetings thinking how impressive he was. Like, this guy is, you know, he understands scheme, highly intelligent, but then, man, he understands personality of players. Like, to watch him, he treated every player different, man. And some guys he prodded, some guys he loved up, some guys he would just simply walk and whisper in their ear, and then to watch him go, like, he's got a knack about understanding how to make people go, and not everybody's the same. So, unbelievable dude, unbelievable human being, great teacher. Anyway, we're going to miss him.
How do you think that will translate to a 4 game his first time?
Same thing. Look, he's very detailed, organized. I know he and Vrabel are going to be working hand in hand, and so it's about standing up in front of that room, making sure everything's organized. This is how we want to do things, guys. We're all on the same page, and then motivating them to do it, or pulling the most out of each guy. That's what he's been doing. Now he's just doing it with a bigger group. That's actually great, man. So he's going to do great.
Dan, taking this unorthodox route to becoming a head coach. Most guys are either a quarterback whisperer or defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
What do you think was key to your elevation?
I guess I'm just a whisperer. No, look, things, as you know, Omar, things worked out. That it just kind of, look, I would have never been in this position had I not become an interim head coach. I don't think I'm sitting here had that not happened. You get 12 games in season of experience, and that was critical to me. And that was one of those weird oddball situations. It was actually unfortunate because people are losing their jobs. But I think you make the most of it, and I think people take notice, and then it just kind of goes from there. So I was, you know, for me, that it worked out that way. That's the best I can tell you. And then I was fortunate to get back with Sean Payton. That was huge.
Yeah.
It was huge because there was a lot of things that I was able to, you know, he filled in a lot of the pieces for me, you know. And when you're in that, you go to the interim, you're head coach, you don't know what you don't know. And then once you've been exposed to it, then you know what questions to ask. You know what you're looking for. So then when I go with Sean, that's all I'm looking for is like, all right, if I was a head coach and I'm watching Sean, or I asked Sean these questions, man, that helped. That was unbelievable.
And I want to ask you about Melifonwu in terms of what does he bring to the defense?
Who's that?
Melifonwu.
Oh, yeah. Look, The only thing that's happened with Iffy for us was he had some injuries at times that would just but when we had him and when he was on the field and he was able to really bang reps and bank a lot of time with, man, he's a productive player. This guy is. And he's a defensive back. Like I wouldn't say that he's a safety. He's a defensive back. He can play really dime linebacker. He can play the safety position, play corner. He can pressure. He's a matchup piece in coverage. And so, if he was one of our original draft picks, man, in 21. So wish him the best. You guys are going to love him down there, and he'll be a productive player.
Dan, bringing Davenport back, the guy gets injured historically. How tough is that to get away from that stigma for a player?
Yeah.
How much is that in your mind about bringing him back?
Yeah, I mean, look, those are things that always weigh. We think it weighs on us. It weighs on the player too. But you want to know, I think for us that he still wants to go. Like, man, I'm willing to attack this, continue to get better, which he has. And I think, as long as he's willing to make another push, believes that he can get this done, and we feel like the rehab and everything has gone well, we think this will heal, everything's right about it, then yeah, we feel good, And for what, as long as, if it goes the way we think it's going to go, Davenport is going to be a hell of a player.
Dan, you guys have been aggressive in paying your own players, extending them early. What goes into that process, and then how does that sort of affect your future planning with having to hit on the draft for cost reasons?
Well, look, there's a reason why we draft the guys that we do. It's because they fit us, and when you're able to, the hardest thing about free agency is not knowing guys. You don't have a history with them. You don't know they don't know how they are when they have an injury, how it pertains to practicing, what they're like after losses, what they're like after wins, what they're like when they do something wrong, you get after them. All these things. But your guys that you picked and drafted for a reason, you're with them 3, 4, 5 years. Like, that's huge. That's huge. And so absolutely we're going to sign those guys back. They're us. They're our guys. And so I think if anything, it just helps you see the future. You have an idea of those guys that belong here long term, and it just means that it's not going to be as flashy outside of your own group, right? And you forget that sometimes an early signing is really free agency. Like we signed Liam McNeil last year in the fall. He was really going to be a free agent. So, but we got it done before.
Just to stay with the draft first, how is your role changed now that you guys are picking later in the draft? Do you spend less time on the road? Do you focus on guys later in the draft? And with the new staff, I wonder if that changes too. Do you have to be inside more to work on your own stuff?
Yeah, I don't know if it's really changed. Well, yeah, that obviously, yes, that portion of the fact that we are picking later now. So I think, I know for myself and the coaches, we don't focus as much on these guys you think are going to fall in the top 10, top 15 maybe. Now, doesn't mean Brad doesn't and his crew, but that takes a little bit off of us, and it's like, hey, let's look at this focus between, these picks here and this round, and really focus on this clump of guys, whatever this is. And that just makes our time more efficient, helps us, and kind of keeps everybody where they need to be. I do, but I'm not going to say yet, because it seems like every year I've done that, right? It's been this explosion. It's like, hey, I wish you would have told us before you did that, because we haven't told our media. And I'm like, all right. So, yeah, we got something in the works. We'll see what happens. Hopefully 2.
Quick Jets question. Aaron Glenn brings over Tanner and also Steve Biden.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about them and what you think is next for them as far as their new positions?
Yeah, well, critical pieces to what we were and what we were able to do here offensively. Tanner's been coach tight ends, and then he was our pass game coordinator, last couple of years. And then Steve Hyden, obviously tight end coach. Both of those guys moving over. Both of them ready to make that move, and they always had critical input on the run game and the pass game for us. Game planning, all of those are great with the players. You know, and look, Tanner's got, he's got some experience. He does. I mean, he's called plays before. You know, it hasn't been in the NFL, but he's done this and he's organized game plans. He helped Ben a ton. Helped me. And he's an upbeat guy, man. He's the same, and I would say that about both of them. They're the same guys every day. They don't go down. They're not up. They're not down. They're the same guys, and they're real positive. Role models to be around, and they're gonna be great out there.
Dan,
they're AG's type of guys.
Yeah, speaking of AG, can you speak to his skills as a teacher and a developer?
Yeah, I mean, I think it speaks for itself. If you just go pull up anything that he's done here and just watch him, I mean, it's all over the internet. This he's an unbelievable teacher. He's a motivator. He's all about the details, and he's about accountability. Like he's not, look, if he's got something on his mind, he's no different than I am, then he's going to say it. He's not going to just, you're brushing it under the rug or sweeping it under the rug. Like, he's going to let you know this is a problem, and I think that's important. Sometimes it gets lost, and everybody just assumes that if you're holding people accountable, that means you're being an asshole. That's not what that means. It means I'm telling you that I don't like what you're doing. Like that in my face. I'm telling. No, I'm just asking. But anyway, that's yeah. Go ahead.
You've seen Ben grow to the position that he's in now in Chicago. Why is he going to succeed with the Bears?
Well, you look. I've been. He always asks the right questions. A number of reasons why he's waited this long to take one of these. He's been the hot name for going on 3 years now, and because he's self-aware. He knows. I think he knew. Man, my mind's not there, my heart's not there, or I'm just not ready in general. And I don't think everybody's that way, right? Not everybody is. You get offered something like that, you're going to jump at it immediately, and he's not that because he thinks about these things 5 moves out, and so that's why I think he's put a lot of thought in. He's asked a lot of good questions. We talk all the time, and so I did my best to help him be prepared to take that role, and I think he's going to do great.
Do you take great pride in his success? I mean, he's been with you in Miami and Detroit. You're a mentor now.
Yeah, I've known Ben a long time, and yeah, I do. He's somebody I've always believed in and thought he could be in the seat that he's getting ready to be in, and so yeah, I do, man. I'm happy for him. I want him to do well.
Dan.
Say it again. I don't know. I mean, that's not as easy a question as it, or answer to that question. I just think, I know this, that whoever that is, they need to believe that you believe in them. They have to feel that, and if they don't, and if it's not real or there's not substance to it, then they can feel that. So. If he's your guy, then you need to be all in on your guy, and I think that goes a long way and helps confidence. And then along the way, give them what they need, and sometimes they don't know what they need, but that's your job, right? So I don't know if that helps or not, but yeah.
Competitor, you think about your road schedule.
About who?
Your road schedule.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I'm. Yeah, it's like anything else. I mean, you're always looking for these nuggets, man, and of motivation, and that's it. This is a challenge, We're competitive. I'm competitive, and so yeah, I love the thought of it, man. These are going to be outdoor grass. I hope it rains. It's mud. It's everything, right? The whole deal. So, and it is. We're in a meat grinder. This is going to be a meat grinder, And I've said this before. We could be a better team than we were last year and have more losses. There is a chance that could happen. That's okay. It's okay. As long as we learn from what those are and we get better coming out of them, we'll be good.
I'm sure you've been asked this.
Because I always think of this. I'm sorry. I always think of this. No matter what happens in the season, you're trying to sharpen your sword for the playoffs. You're trying to win a division, sharpen your sword for the playoffs. So win, lose, whatever that is.
I know you've been asked.
In that regard, just to follow up, last year you guys wanted that one seed so much.
Yeah.
What happened last year in the schedule, does that change your focus? Hey, just get into the division. I know that was a focus.
No, I think you're always going to say, if you're just playing the odds say that when you don't have as many games to get to a Super Bowl, that those odds are normally in your favor. That's better. You don't have to one less game to have to play. So I would still say those are always going to be a goal. I mean, you got to win your division. You want to try to get a shot at the 1 seed or seed yourself the best. Certainly home game. And you go from there. But the bottom line is this. It doesn't matter. Just get your ass in the playoffs. Just get in. And then it's about the matchups and making the most of that day. And along the way, we got to get better throughout the year. We got to be much better than we were to start the season.
I'm sure you've been asked this before. Sirianni is saying that he's talked to a few players. Raheem has already said hard no. Sean McVay said hard no about the tush push. Where do you fall?
They're saying no as in they don't support it?
Yes.
Who was that? Who said that?
Raheem and Sean.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I'm of the school of, look, we don't run that, right? Jared Goff, we're not gonna. Doesn't mean we don't quarterback sneak, but we don't do that with. But I am of the school of, hey, they found something, and it's for up to everybody else to stop it. So I'm of a hard yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Last two, Eric and Mike.
Coach, I want to follow up on the motivation a little bit. You lose coordinators, you lose people in the front office, you lose so many different people. How much of a challenge is that for you to show that this Detroit Lions foundation is still intact, even after losing so many people, and just your adjustment to that, losing so many people?
Well, I think, I mentioned this a minute ago. Everything is about setting the tone for the next season, right? And I think you're always looking for things to motivate you, And the bottom line is, when you come into an organization, you want this thing you want to have a vision for it, you want to get it up on its feet, and then you want it to be self-sustaining. And I feel like we're just about there, and it's because of the people that we have in this building. It's the owner we have, it's the people that we have, and from scouting to player personnel to the coaches. And then most importantly, it's the players. We've been fortunate to stay together here long enough to build this thing with a true foundation of players. We were able to draft from the ground up. Also with some guys that were here, only a couple now, that were here when we got here. Brought in a couple of players, and particularly a player, Alex, in 21. And so, but that group of players has been here now going on 5 years with us, all of us together. And so that's what it's about. That's what it's about. Is this group, all of us now. We've seen the ups and downs. We've been through it, and so this is the next challenge. And so if you say, well, you lost this guy, well, that to me is a slap in the face of the guys in that locker room. All right, and so. We're looking forward to this. This will be the next challenge for us, and it won't be easy. But we're all good with that,
Last one here.
So last summer, there was an issue kind of with the receivers, and you stood up there and you said you were dying for somebody to step up. Then you got Tim Patrick, and that seemed to go really well. What's your confidence level at the receiver position this year, and would you like to maybe see some more competition there going into the summer?
Yeah, love that group. But we were fortunate that we got out last year during the season for the most part unscathed, I mean, as far as injuries and things of that nature. But that group, TP and Leaf and obviously Saint and J-Mo, those guys that we got have been big for us. And so we would love to bring in more competition, particularly some youth, that would help. And let them all mix it up, get in there and see where it all falls.